Welcome, young Padawans. So I sense you have all come here to learn the various ways to watch Star Wars before starting to watch the legendary Star Wars movies, right? And if that's the case, you're here. It means you're ready to embark on an epic journey filled with adventure, heroism, and the eternal struggle between good and evil. This guide is made for beginners who may not be familiar with this beloved saga. Together we'll explore the original 6 films and 2 standalone stories, Solo and Rogue One, and in what order you need to watch them in. So charge your laptops and prepare everything necessary to have a blast with these historic stories. At its heart, Star Wars is a tale of friendship, family, hope, and good versus evil. These themes are depicted through many ways, but most famously through the conflict between the Jedi, guardians of peace and justice, and the Sith, who seek power through fear and aggression. The saga spans generations, featuring a rich tapestry of characters, planets, and epic battles with astonishing spaceships and iconic technology. Categorized as a space opera with heavy influences from Western films, samurai films, and ancient mythology, these stories have become timeless and extremely influential for so many things that have come after. Whether you're drawn to lightsaber duels or intricate political suspense, there's something for everyone in this universe. Oh, you're not aware of lightsabers yet, right? But don't worry, we have a separate video on it. Simply click the link and watch to understand and become a crazy fan. Before you start watching the series, let me tell you how to watch them. There are 3 popular viewing orders: Release Order, Chronological Order, and Machete Order. Each offers a unique experience, and all of these are argued to be the best, depending on which fan you talk to. Before we begin, please give the video a like and subscribe if you're new, so you never miss what's going on in your favorite galaxy far, far away, and our upcoming videos. Alright, let's dive in. Release Order. The first way to watch is the release order in which the movies came out. This method starts with what is called the original trilogy, and followed by the prequel trilogy. With that being said, the first movie released is called Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. This film came out in 1977. Now I know what you're thinking. How can the beginning of this franchise start with Episode 4? And that's because in 1977 there were no episodes. The film was simply called Star Wars. The creator, George Lucas, did not anticipate any sequels, and therefore he did not establish the episode system until 1981. He incorporated this with the re-release of the film, and the preceding one, and their opening crawls where he established it officially as Episode 4, A New Hope. Our story begins with Luke Skywalker, a young farm boy living on the desert planet of Tatooine, who longs for a life beyond his typical existence. His adventure kicks off when he accidentally discovers a hidden message inside R2-D2, a small droid that has escaped from the clutches of the evil Empire. The message is from Princess Leia, a leader of the Rebel Alliance, who is held captive by the dark and powerful Darth Vader. Determined to help, Luke seeks out Obi-Wan Kenobi, a wise and old hermit who reveals himself as a Jedi Knight. Together with Han Solo, a charismatic smuggler, and his co-pilot Chewbacca, they set off aboard the Millennium Falcon to rescue the princess. This film not only introduces us to these iconic characters, but also establishes the central conflict between the Rebel Alliance and the Empire. The next movie is Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. This was released in 1981. This sequel, celebrated as one of the greatest sequels in history, and maybe one of the best films of all time, deepens our bond with the characters and their journey. Luke trains with Yoda, a wise Jedi Master, to strengthen his connection to the Force, while Han Solo and Princess Leia deal with the constant threat of Darth Vader's pursuits. The plot thickens when a stunning revelation that is regarded as one of the biggest twists in the history of the cinema, leaving viewers in shock. This is one of the main reasons why fans highly suggest watching the movies in this way. You're able to go through the same emotions as those who originally watched these movies, and are able to experience the story as it was originally told. The film not only raises the stakes of the conflict, but also adds layers of emotional depth and character development, enhancing the saga's narrative and setting the stage for further epic developments. The next film to watch is Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Released in 1983, this is the final film in the first Star Wars trilogy. The last movie of the original trilogy shows our heroes making a big attack against the Emperor and his army. Luke Skywalker faces Darth Vader in a big fight. This fight's very important for Luke because he needs to stay good and avoid the dark side of the Force. While this is happening, the Rebel Alliance fights against the Empire's forces yet again. The battle becomes very intense as we realize how important they are for the fate of the galaxy and the characters we have come to love. The movie ends many of the characters' stories, but leaves some open for future adventures. A fantastic ending for the original trilogy, and a phenomenal new modern mythology is born. After over a decade of waiting and high anticipation, George Lucas finally delivered the next chapters of the Star Wars story. This is called the prequel trilogy, a story encompassing the important characters and moments that lead up to the movies from the 70s and 80s. With needing to show the rise of the Empire, the fall of the Jedi, and the creation of Darth Vader, the prequel trilogy took on a new level of scope, setting, and responsibility. George Lucas finally felt the technology of the movie industry, was ready to tell the story that he wanted to tell. The next film in our watch order and the beginning of the next trilogy is Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, from 1999. In this prequel, we explore the early life of a Jedi named Anakin Skywalker, who lives as a slave on the harsh desert planet of Tatooine with his mother. His life takes a dramatic turn when Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn and his apprentice, Obi-Wan Kenobi, stranded on Tatooine, discover the young boy. Qui-Gon senses an extraordinary presence of the Force within Anakin, and believes he may be the prophesied chosen one, who will bring balance to the Force. The Jedi encounter opposition from the Trade Federation, and the mysterious presence of a Sith Lord, Darth Maul, who represents a secretive and ancient enemy thought to be extinct. As Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan navigate political intrigue and imminent threats, they also face the challenge of convincing the Jedi Council that Anakin should be trained as a Jedi. The next film after is Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, from 2002. In this installment, Anakin Skywalker grapples with his emotions for Padme Amidala, amidst escalating tensions between the Galactic Republic and the Separatist forces. This complex period in Anakin's life is pivotal, as he begins to set the stage for what's to come later. This film delves into the intense themes of love and loss, providing a deeper understanding of Anakin's character and motivations. It crucially lays the groundwork for the galaxy's future transformation and his involvement in it, making it essential viewing for understanding the character's evolution and the broader narrative shifts that lead to major events in the stories after. And last but definitely not least, we have Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, released in 2005. This is regarded by many to be the best of the trilogy, and arguably one of the best Star Wars films of all time. Either this or Episode 5 are my favorite, as I flip-flop all the time on which one I like more. But lately, I've been leaning towards Episode 3. The tragic end of Anakin Skywalker's journey plays out as the Republic falls and the Empire rises from its ashes. This critical installment reveals how even good intentions can spiral into disastrous consequences, as those who seek safety and security can see themselves opening the door to dictatorships. The film is key for understanding the rise of the Empire and the political shifts that set the stage for A New Hope. It provides essential context for the transition from the Republic to the Empire, and explains how Anakin's personal turmoil catalyzes some of the most significant events in the Star Wars saga. Chronological Order. Now that we've gone over release order and a bit about each of the main films, we'll go through Chronological Order and Machete Order much more quickly. For those who prefer to watch the story unfold from the very beginning, the chronological order is the way to go. This order follows the Star Wars saga as the events occur within the universe, giving you a linear narrative that follows character development closely. And if you are someone who thinks you'll get more into it because of the modern-ish special effects and look, this could be the way for you to start watching. Starting with Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, you journey through young Anakin's discovery, his transition into the Jedi, and ultimately his fall to the dark side in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. This sets a dramatic backdrop as you transition into Episode 4, A New Hope. The watch order for the movies will go like this: Episode 1, Phantom Menace. Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Episode 4, A New Hope. Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. And finally, Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Watching this way changes the experience one would have compared to starting with Episode 4. The big twist and reveal of the original trilogy is no longer a main emotional moment in the story for the audience. But with watching in chronological order, we get to go on a long journey of seeing everything from start to finish. With this way, we can really follow the story of Anakin Skywalker and see why he is the chosen one. To me, this changes the scope of the story and shifts who we focus on as our titular character of the franchise. While Luke Skywalker is the main character and hero of the original trilogy, and in my opinion, of the whole saga when watching in the release order method, watching in chronological order puts Anakin Skywalker as the face of the 6 movies, and points the light on his journey more directly. Machete Order. Now let me tell you about my own experience. I was born in 1997 and was introduced to Star Wars through the prequel trilogy. I was so young though that I didn't pay attention to the story and details in the way I would later in life. So by the time I watched the original trilogy, I fell in love with it just as if it was my first intro to Star Wars. So for me, watching in release order or chronological order both gave me great memories. But since I love everything in sequence, and to change up the watch experience every once in a while, once I discovered the Machete Order, I fell in love with this idea. So, if you are anything like me, then this one's for you. If you want an engaging experience that emphasizes key plot points, keeps the twists of the original trilogy, highlights both Anakin and Luke in their respective ways, all while minimizing some less impactful films, then I think you need to try this. You start with Episode 4, A New Hope, and then Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, where the galaxy is already embroiled in conflict, and the major players are introduced. The narrative then flashes back to Episodes 2 and 3, exploring Anakin Skywalker's transformation and backstory. Finally, you return to Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, for the thrilling conclusion and crescendo of Luke and Anakin's story at the end. I personally like to add Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, in it because I'm a big fan of that film and do like to have that backstory when watching the saga. This better helps explain the Chosen One prophecy that was introduced in the prequels, and depending on who you're talking to, that either strengthens Anakin's story in Episode 6 or hurts Star Wars since some fans don't like the Chosen One prophecy. Personally, I'm a fan of it, but again, I am a prequel kid. The Machete Order was created by blogger Rod Hilton in 2011. Hilton's order is intended to highlight the series' strengths while minimizing its weaknesses, and create a less convoluted viewing experience for newcomers. It's meant to use the original trilogy as a framework for the entire original 6 movies, by placing the prequels in the middle of the story. It allows for the viewer to be focused on Luke Skywalker's story, but not at the expense of Anakin's impact and story from earlier in the timeline, or vice versa, not focusing on Anakin's story while minimizing Luke's impact later on in the timeline. To me, this amps up the narrative focus on the core drama of Luke and Anakin. The prequel backstory comes at the perfect time, after the cliffhanger at the end of The Empire Strikes Back, and doesn't spoil the big reveal of that movie. We get to start our story like those who originally started this journey in 1977, and get the same emotional payoffs. But then we get to see the flashback of the prequel era and see why the story of Anakin is so important.
I think the best way to tell the story is by starting at the end, briefly, then going back to the beginning, and then periodically returning to the end, maybe giving different characters' perspectives throughout. Just to give it a bit of dynamism, otherwise it's just sort of a linear story.
Just tell us what happened.
Fast forward back to Episode 6, and it all comes together for a grand finale of a lot of emotion. But things don't have to stop there. Under Disney, since their purchase of Lucasfilm from George Lucas in 2012, there have been new movies added to the Star Wars universe. Episodes 7, 8, and 9, and then 2 anthology films. I personally am not a fan of the sequel trilogy and haven't added them to this video, but I think you can figure out that they're the last to watch after Episode 6. But more importantly, I want to share with you where these 2 standalone films fit into the timeline, as they actually could be fun add-ons to your movie watch-through. Rogue One. The first single film is Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, released in 2016. It serves as a prequel to A New Hope. It centers on Jyn Erso, and a band of rebels who embark on a perilous mission to steal the plans for the Death Star, the superweapon designed by Jyn's coerced father. Yes, the very same Death Star plans we are introduced to at the start of Episode 4. This film highlights the bravery of ordinary people challenging tyranny without Jedi intervention, providing key background details that enrich the narrative of A New Hope, specifically how Leia obtains the information vital to the Death Star's destruction. The best suggestion is that Rogue One is best watched right before A New Hope, as it directly sets up the events that unfold in the original 1977 film, creating a continuous and enhanced viewing experience. Personally, this is my favorite Star Wars movie made by Disney. The story, the cinematography, special effects, you name it, are some of my favorites. Too bad they haven't been able to figure out this formula again on the movie side. Solo. Next is Solo, A Star Wars Story, released in 2018. This delves into the backstory of Han Solo, chronicling his transformation from a young adventurer to the renowned smuggler known across the galaxy we meet in Episode 4. The film showcases his early escapades, including his first encounter with Chewbacca and his acquisition of the Millennium Falcon. The film enriches our understanding of Han Solo by revealing the origins of his motivations, friendships, and the challenges he faced. Solo is best watched after Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and before Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, as it fits into the timeline between these stories, filling in the details of a key character's history. So if you're watching in release order, these will be your last two. Again, I'm not counting the sequels. But if you're watching in chronological order, then Solo is after Episode 3, and Rogue One is then right after that. For Machete Order, I would suggest adding Rogue One to be the first film you start with, and maybe just skip Solo, if this is how you're going to watch the saga. If you don't skip it, then you either need to put it as the first movie of your list, or after Episode 3, but before Episode 6. To me, honestly, it's not vital to Han's story in the original trilogy, and also defeats the purpose of utilizing the Machete Order if your goal is to enhance the strengths and minimize weaknesses in the saga. So, that's all for today from your favorite galaxy far, far away. The beauty of Star Wars lies not just in its action-packed sequences, but also in its themes: hope, redemption, friendship, and sacrifice. As you watch these films, consider what they mean beyond their surface-level excitement. And according to the sequences I went over, maybe it changes your experience. But I want to know what you think. Let me know down in the comments below. What way do you like to watch the trilogy? How are you going to watch it if you're new? If you got a lot of knowledge and help from this guide, let me know. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And always remember, may the Force be with you, always.